indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. I'll call the meeting order. I'll ask the recording treasurer to have a roll call.
Barnes. Here. Bradley. Here. Hastings.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
Pistol.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
This time I'll entertain a motion, a second, to approve the agenda as presented.
Make a motion to approve. I'll say it.
Motion second, any discussion? I'll ask for a vote.
Barnes.
Yes.
Bradley. Yes. Hastings.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Pistol.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
This time I'll ask for approval of the minutes for the March 11th meeting and the monthly financials. The motion is second as presented.
I'll make a motion to
I'll
approve
second
it.
it.
Any discussion on any of that? I'll ask for a vote.
Barnes.
Yes.
Bradley. Yes. Ward. Hastings.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Pistol.
Yes.
Ward.
Brings us down to the department head reports. We'll start with the Airport Commission. I don't believe Jason made it back. I talked to him earlier and also talked to Susan Fox. The payment was made that we approved the money for that grant. That's in process right now. I think we sent $137,000 paying Mosier. We're waiting for that to come back. I think we'll get $125,000 back on that. And then after that, we'll send some more out for the paving. Probably another month or so, and then we'll get 100% of that back. So everything's on schedule for that. Any follow-up on, you got all the inspections done, and talked to a fella here today, and they're working on replacing the tower, and I think that's next month. Not tower, but that light, light pole. We don't have air traffic control. That's all I have on the Airport Commission. Basically, it's underway, it's going fine, so grateful for that. Brings us to Animal Control Officer Tim Pike. Tim, I'm going to interrupt before you even get started. Lori, I talked to her, or she sent me a text. She just got off work. Nothing to report. 15 cats and kittens right now at the shelter, and 23 dogs and puppies. So they've got room there. So that was her report. And I've got to follow up on some a water leak under water and sewer. So go ahead, sorry.
Okay, took 17 calls last month, picked up 3 dogs and 1 cat. Did you say she said we got some room again now?
I would assume so. 7, whatever those numbers are. 17 or 15 cats, 23 dogs. So I don't know what capacity is. That may be full.
Yesterday it was full.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but I ain't been in there today.
Well, she caught me on. I just never got to that. But no, she's got those out back. I thought we had 45, or maybe that's counting everything, or up to 35. She said, but she'll be in tomorrow. And like I said, I want to talk about that. We've got a leak. We've got the shut-off valve that Will and them put under the deal, but we need to, find that so they'll turn the water off and on every time they show it.
And I can't remember his name, but I spoke with your neighbor this morning, and he said we resolved his problem with his.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There was an issue over there, some dogs barking after hours, so that seems to be, I appreciate you coming out. That went really well. And usually communication is the best way to solve something, so I appreciate that. Anything for Officer Tim Pike? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Brings us down to Fire Department Chief D.L. Webb.
We've had an eventful month. Right after the meeting last month, we had a camper catch fire right in front of the doctor's building that consumed most of the night for us. We did have 1 lift assist with Medic 1 that we helped them out on. We did have our little storm that came through town last night. Or yesterday afternoon. That was pretty eventful with the 18-wheeler on 65. And what a lot of people didn't understand was there was a car underneath that is a good car, I guess, because I sure wouldn't want to be in the position they were in.
Yeah.
Easter egg hunt went very well. It wasn't as full as it was 2 years ago, but it went well. Everything seems to be going fine. If there's any questions I can answer, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
I'll say it to Jay also. I appreciate you hollering at me on the little storm that kicked up. I drove up there. Y'all had everything rocking and rolling. Had things in piles out of the road. Traffic was moving, and first responders. I mean, there was a lot of people up there doing their job. So I was very happy with the city and the county and everybody. So thank y'all. Anything else for the fire chief? Thank you, and appreciate the Easter egg hunt. Brings us down to Parks Department and Street Department. Charles Wilson.
Softball's kicked off full swing.
Yeah.
We got all the kids, we redone the pavilion at Main Street Park, put in the mulch, put new piers, painted a few things. Still a lot more we'd like to do, but with the grass growing and short-handed, it's hard to get to everything. But we're gonna try to clean up the bathroom a little bit more, put some new counters in, maybe paint the bridge and stuff like that. Like I said, if we can. Street department's going good. Done some bush hogging out on the river, put in a couple tiles. Still got a long ways to go. Got some more bush hogging to do to catch up. Grass is fixing to be in front of us.
Okay.
I appreciate you mowing that down there on the river, that really looks nice.
How about
down
that?
there. That looks great.
Yeah, that's you know, like I say, I think Jay, we're gonna try to, and when I get community service folks, concentrate on keeping that down. Sammy had it down at one time, and we
Yeah.
just, we just ran out of time. But yeah, you really made a jump on that. Appreciate that. That's what I had on the parks, Kitty Park. It's clean and painted, looks great. And also on the way to the baseball fields look good. Reminder of next Tuesday, all departments, Alan Green's gonna come up in Municipal League and go over our safety plan, so y'all know about that. And, that's a River Drive, that's what I had. Looks great. Anything else for Charles on streets or parks? Thank you. Yeah, I'm good on the other, I don't need you. Brings us down to Police Department report, Chief Jay Murdoch.
You guys got our activity report. It's pretty on par with last month. You got some things to update you guys on. We got approved for a $2,500 JAG grant. We're gonna go ahead and purchase updated body cameras with that. We're starting a community service program with District Court with the sobriety guys. First day will be tomorrow. I think we're gonna go clean up the river down by our baseball fields. I think that's what Charles wants us to do. We're gonna try to do that once or twice a month to help those guys out and help the city out. The other thing, I was approached by Randy Ward from the County Road Department, and I think Mr. Brown has a intergovernmental letter that we had talked about for them to possibly do our maintenance at a reduced labor rate. We've been averaging $45 to $60 an hour labor rate at some of these places. They offered 30, and we buy our own parts. So I think if we can do that, I think that's gonna be a pretty good cost savings to the city. Just wanna put that up to you guys, make sure you guys are all right with that.
I don't have a problem. You need a motion and a second for approve that, get that in minutes.
For you to enter into an intergovernmental agreement for the road department.
I'll entertain a motion and a second to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Van Buren County for maintenance of our vehicles.
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Second, any other discussion on that? I'll ask for a vote.
Barnes,
Yes.
Riley. Yes. Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Pistol,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Okay.
The other thing, you can ask Will also, in 2014, the city of Clinton bought a truck under a previous chief. It sat for a year and we sold it to the water department. I talked to Miss Dina. Water department paid us in 2015, but that money, instead of replacing our vehicle, went straight into the city general. Since then, we've had a car flooded, we've had one get a blown motor, and we've got another one that's about to blow a motor. So, if you guys can think about it, I don't necessarily need an answer today, but I'd like to see if we get money for another replacement car that has already been paid for, it just never got put back into our budget for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't have a
The money
problem.
went to general funds, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
Instead of back to the,
You send it back to the
I
police
remember
department.
that, yes. I remember it, yeah.
Why did that happen?
'Cause it was on the last day of the year,
Noted.
Uh,
Tony.
I do remember.
the very last day of
It
the
was
year,
very-
2014.
Yeah.
Dina,
Yeah,
would we do
yeah.
that right now, motion second, or, yeah,
If they wanna do it, yeah.
okay, set amount is, what was it, 25,000?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion second, and we discuss it, transfer that 25,000.
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Any other
Is it
discussion
for them to purchase a vehicle?
to purchase a vehicle, I'm sorry?
Does that vehicle come through state bid, I guess?
Yes, sir.
And then y'all pick whatever lowest or whatever the
The state bid is basically the lowest. It's a place out of Whitehall. They're the ones that have the state bid on our Chargers. We're gonna buy,
But it's going back to a car instead of a.
yes, instead of a truck. Yes, sir, we're gonna get better fuel mileage in the Chargers than we are in the trucks. The lifespan of the Charger over these trucks, because they're actually built to be police cars, we're actually gonna pay less in repair and maintenance costs and fuel costs over the life of that vehicle than we would in our trucks. So I'm trying to transition us slowly over time back to a patrol car fleet instead of a patrol truck fleet.
I think that's smart. I've said that for years. I think that's great.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that transfer? I'll ask for a vote.
Barnes.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Pistol.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Anything, oh, go ahead.
And the last thing I've got is we're, again, partnering with the Bright Futures program at the school. Starting April 15th, April 30th, they're wanting to collect jars of peanut butter for their take-home backpack program for, some kids that don't necessarily have the resources of the food over the summer. So we're just asking people, what we want to do is fill up the back of my police truck with peanut butter between now and the 30th. So if anybody wants to donate some peanut butter, just bring it down to the police department. If you want to fill up my office where I can't get in there, that'd be great too.
That's Bright Future, Shelley Hink, and,
Yes, sir.
she does a good job of that, and they need it. I'm gonna talk to some of the businesses and have a drop box, maybe at City Hall also.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anything else for the chief? Thank you. Okay. That'll bring us down to Water and Sewer Department report. Will Hinchy.
Okay, on the treatment cost, we actually had 63,654,000 gallons treated. And then treating that, it was 68 cents a thousand, is the cost on that. And first off, this report that I'm given is from February 16th, March 16th. So this covers all the bad weather, freezing, and extra pumpage and stuff like that. So Clinton, water percentage on the water loss is 36.9, so 37%. That is up, and one reason it is we didn't go through there and make up a bunch of numbers. I will say there was 3 different blow-offs in different areas that we left running for 14 days during this period. And the reason is the water line were less than 12 inches deep, and they've been known to freeze when the weather gets down that low. So that's not calculated into this. So I could have done some calculations and tried to figure, but just know that there's water loss out there. So, but 37% on that. Burnt Ridge was 51%, and Denard was 34%. In front of you, I don't care if you guys don't, I'm gonna take a little time on explaining what you got there. And this is our the revenue for since we've had the rate increase. So I've got a total report for a full year there in front of you for 2019 to 2020. That would cover our first rate increase there. You can look at it quarterly, and just studying on it right there, looking at each quarter, you're gonna see that the usage for the sewer customers has actually went down each month. We're bringing in more revenue, but only because the rate, but the usage itself went down. But if you look at just the water customers, our water sales have increased every quarter, so it's continued to climb. We're selling more water plus, the rate increase. But you can look at the total there on that second page on it, 2019 versus 2020, from January to December. The sewer revenue actually went up 224,000, and the water revenue went up that 544. And if our initial goal was that
numbers are pretty
we
close.
hit it pretty good. So there's your first, and then of course I got a page right there that compares 2019 to 2000. Let's go to the next one here, which I don't know what order you got them in. I do apologize for that. So 2000, I got January to March in 2020 compared to 2021. And you'll see, there's right at $5,258 on the sewer revenue difference there in that quarter. But on the water revenue, there was $104,000 difference, so the increase is showing up, and now our job is to use it in the right place. Which brings me, we met for the 10-year plan. The mayor and I met last week with CWB and kind of put it in what order we would like to put it, like number 1 priority, number 2 priority and stuff, and we'll be able to present that to you within the next month or so, as soon as that gets revamped. There will be a few price changes from the last one you've seen because costs have went up so much. PVC pipe right now is a hot item. It's hard to get. It actually takes petroleum to make it. So our pipe salesmen are telling us, we might get one more order in and we may not have the next. So some pipe is already getting hard to find. But right now we're stocked up. We're ready for, we're ready for a lot. But, we're trying to be ready.
Did look at the sewer erosion down there, you and Phil and I, and maybe I think we'll come with a plan for that in the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel pretty good about that. We talked about just the bank keeps washing away, and we talked about, we think we found a way to maybe put in a lift station and go up, just get completely off the river. I think it's doable, and I think we might have a way to finance it with some of that federal money that's coming in. So I'll certainly.
That's just an example on why the 10-year plan keeps changing all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to say you got a 10-year plan and something pop up that's a bigger emergency than.
Well, I'm hoping that don't even figure in if we can get the financing
That's
for
like the
it.
mayor said, we've actually got, just to go on a little bit on it, just here next to the creek here, we've actually got a main sewer line that actually carries 173 customers. And that main sewer line is within feet of being washed out now by the creek. Within 2 years ago, we looked on a map, on a Google map, aerial view, and it was taken 2 years ago. And within that 2-year period, we lost about 10 foot of bank. There's a big rock out there in the water. You can look at it. You can step out from the bank onto the rock. Now it's 15 foot away from the rock.
Did talk to Pettigee and Dave. If we do that, I think there's some issue with 3-phase, and talked to Johnny Moore, and he's already, I think, come up with another angle at that. He has 2 or 3 options on that. So.
Yeah. And we may consider, instead of doing poles, if we have to go across Paul's field, we may do underground. But
Right.
Johnny Moore would be the one to point us in the right direction on that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for Will? Thank you. Brings us down to the zoning department. Clark.
Okay, I got one thing for the council's consideration. You got a handy dandy map in front of you. We're looking at 346 Memory Lane, which is owned by Mr. Pistol. And he approached the zoning commission. This is currently zoned R2 residential, and he had requested it be changed to C1 commercial. We had a public hearing, and there was no objections to that. And because this is, I guess everybody's familiar with this is where pack rat storage is. And because it's been used for commercial use for the past 20+ years, and is currently being used that way. And for that reason, the zoning commission recommends to the council to go ahead and rezone that.
Okay. You need a motion second to zone that 2 acres, approximately 2 acres on Memory Lane from R2 to C1, correct? Entertain a motion and a second to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
I got one thought, just from my own knowledge. When you do a public hearing, is it so many days or anything, or just, how does that come out? Like some places I've seen where they put signs up or something.
We send out a letter to anyone within 200 feet of
the property, and then we also run an ad in the paper, letting people know.
You know, just curious, like I said, I've seen signs in different towns, so I was wondering if that was part of this or not.
I've never used a sign or done that before.
So it's going from commercial to,
No, residential
It's go-
to commercial.
but it's always been,
It's always been used
it's
commercial.
always been used commercial.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just needs to be.
And is that a subdivision through there?
Yes, it's, yeah.
I mean, I did, you know, that memory lane, I was wondering how they,
Have a question, Tina?
Yeah, it's been, I put stuff in it.
oh,
I
yeah.
don't remember how long ago it was. John, you want to have a comment?
Well, I'd rather find it amusing that you send out letters to property owners within 200 feet, because those are 1 and 5 acre plots out there, and 200 feet means only the immediately adjacent property owners. How does that notify the community?
I'm just going by what the ordinance says.
I understand that, but I don't think that's reasonable.
Okay,
Put in
thank
the
you.
paper,
Yes, it was in the paper.
fantastic.
Anything else from the council? I'll call for a vote on that.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Pistol,
I abstain.
Ward,
Yes.
What else?
On the weather sirens, all of them are fully operational except for the one on 16. And they're just waiting on some parts to come in. What happened on that was a limit switch failed. Those sirens will go all the way around and they'll stop and come back. Well, that limit switch failed, so it just kept spinning and tore out all the wires. So that burned up a charger and an oscillating board and a motor. So they have ordered those parts. And it's taking longer for everything to come in nowadays, so they said it could be 2 weeks, another 2 weeks before those parts come in. But that's everything else is fully operational except for that one.
I forgot where I was at, because that was probably, last week or 2 days ago, I can't remember. But where I was at, I could totally hear the siren. It was just like, whoa.
You were over here, was that one at the park?
Yeah, that's what, yeah. Yeah, it's over here at the river. in
Yeah,
Hogan.
they
So,
work very well when they're fully operational.
yeah.
So,
We didn't have time to put them off yesterday. Thanks for calling me. Anything else for Tim Clark? Thank you. Brings us down to old business. There is none. New business, maintenance and destruction of accounting records is the first item. This is, need to read into the minutes for every year. I just need a motion in seconds for destruction of old records, maintenance and destruction of accounting records for 2016. This is something we do every year pursuant to the statute. Recorder Treasurer Dita Malone and Administrative Assistant Alicia Duncan will be able to destroy the following records from 2016 by shredding. And all that information is in an affidavit which tells us what we've gotten rid of, and we hang on to that. So you can still know which record it is, but you don't have to keep all that paperwork. I'll entertain a motion in a second to approve the destruction of those records.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. And we do this every year, don't we?
Yes. Gets rid of a lot of paperwork. It's not like my desk is piled up with paperwork. Anything else? I'll call for a vote on that.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Pistol,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Thank you. This brings us to the second item under new business, a resolution, the 2020 amended budget. This is kind of a cleanup, I think, what we do with all our, every year, get all of our numbers so they add up. Tells us where, shows you where your money is and keep it square. Dina's over that, so you can assure it's right. It's a resolution providing for an amendment to the budget for the city of Clinton, Arkansas for the 12-month period beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020, appropriating money for each and every item of expenditure therein provided for. Whereas the City Council of the City of Clinton, Arkansas has made a comprehensive study and review of the proposed amendment to the budget, and whereas it is an opinion of the City Council that the schedules and exhibits of financial information prepared and reviewed revealing anticipated revenues and expenditures for the calendar year should be as accurate as possible for budgetary purposes. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Clinton, Arkansas, Section 1, this resolution shall be known as the Amended Budget Resolution for the City of Clinton, Arkansas for the 12-month period beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020, reflecting estimated revenues and expenditures as hereinafter set forth on the succeeding pages. All revenue herein are estimated and subject to change, and all appropriations are calculated upon available revenues. Section 2, the respective amounts of funds for each and every item of expenditures classification herein proposed in the amended budget for 2020 are hereby approved for the City of Clinton, Arkansas, and are hereby authorized and appropriated for the purposes herein set forth for the calendar year ending December 31, 2020, as attached in Exhibit A. Section 3, the mayor or his duly authorized representative may approve for payment out of these funds hereby appropriated for that purpose, disapprove any bills, debts, or liabilities asserted as claims against the city. B section of that, the maximum of $2,000 is hereby established, and the payment of disapproval of any bills, debts, or liabilities exceeding that amount shall require the confirmation of the governing body, which is you, whereas it is necessary for the efficient operation of municipal government that a budget be planned and adopted. Now therefore, this resolution being necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, and safety shall take effect and be enforced from and after the passage and approval. That is the resolution. I'll entertain a motion in a second to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
This is at the kitty park, right?
Do what now?
This is at the kitty park or where?
Oh, this is the entire budget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got off one.
That's all right.
I
That's
was
all.
listening and thinking, I read it earlier. Okay.
Yeah, but
It's coming.
it's all right. It's got anything? I'll ask for a vote on that.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Pistol,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Dina has all of any modifications in there, and it'll be accurate. And
2021-02.
thank you. You stick with me, Sean. I'll lead you astray quicker than anybody.
I was
promise you.
writing notes and then I.
This brings us to the resolution. I'll need a motion in a second. This is an easement to access for a permitted sign. I'm gonna read this. This is for that sign, which is Thompson Morgan Park, which is the military, got the cannons and so it's across the creek from that. And this just basically allows whoever owns that sign for the life sign to be able to get in there and perform maintenance, make adjustments to it, whatever, which is very reasonable. It's a 20 by 30 pad, and Charles has made the point that and I think Chad has put that in there. It's not going to be a thoroughfare or road. It's just something to get in and get out, and I think that's.
We're gonna have to move the cannons?
We may just have to move the cannon, and basically they'll come off the hill there at the end of the sidewalk that's on Main Street, kind of go right in front of that fountain, and then angle straight toward that footprint of that sign. Just as straight as a shot. It's about 100 feet or 200 feet total. And main thing is just have the head of the supervisor down there of the street department, just, not, Sammy get in the truck and go, just back and forth. But whoever owns that sign, that'll be understood. This is just common sense even. It's a resolution designated and authorizing the mayor to grant an easement access to a permitted sign. Whereas there is a permitted sign location adjacent to the Tomlinson Morgan Park, and whereas the owner of the sign has requested an easement across the park for access to the sign for maintenance purposes, and whereas granting this easement does not interfere with any current or anticipated use of the property by the city, and whereas the easement contains conditions which will protect the park from drainage or misuse of the rights granted in the easement. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Clinton, Arkansas, Section 1, that the mayor as the signatory agent and the successor of said agent is hereby authorized and directed to execute the easement attached to this resolution. And a copy of the easement is in there. And it basically, you can explain that, it's just a general easement of, they're not just gonna have a road. That's pretty basic stuff. Do I need to read that?
Well, just kind of a point of order. Is it Tomlinson Morgan Park, not Morton?
I'm sorry, Morton.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's Morton.
Okay,
It's
okay,
Tomlinson
okay.
Morton. Nancy
So it's not
Morton,
misspelled,
Morton.
okay, good, okay.
I may have said Morton. I'll entertain a motion second to approve that easement.
Make a motion, we approve the easement.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that?
We're not gonna have to cut any trees or anything, are we? on that?
No, across the creek, we're gonna get rid of one of those that's kind of out of the kiddie park. And
Okay.
if we need to prune some, definitely.
Yeah,
And to answer your question, yeah, we are. There's some ironwood trees. I talked to Charles about that, to get rid of some of them. They're just spindly and growing up and they weren't planted.
okay.
We'll get one across the other side of the creek and then maybe modify, prune a couple back.
Okay.
We're gonna wipe out a bunch of white
So
oaks.
what is the digital sign gonna be? What were they gonna advertise?
I don't know. They're
Is a
gonna let
digital
the
sign?
city, Tim may
They
know
already-
more about
Have they
that.
already gone to the zoning committee for the digital sign?
Yeah, they're gonna have, I think one side of the sign is just gonna be for Cowboy Dodge, and the other side of the sign, they'll change it to, if somebody wants to advertise, if the city wants to advertise something, or if somebody wants to advertise whatever, they can purchase time on that sign if they want to.
How big is the sign gonna be?
Same size, I think.
Yeah.
Is it about the same size?
We went over it. We went over
We
it
had to-
last year.
Yeah, it's in the
You had to
minutes.
give
I
a
don't
little
know.
variance on the size.
I think it's a hair bigger maybe.
Yeah.
50 square feet, I think it's 10 by 20.
Tall,
Something like that.
15 more tall.
I'd have to look and see it.
Yeah, I think maybe it's 200, if that.
Back to the ordinance. Chad, does it have something, in there when they do an easement or something, we won't have a road that's gonna be there, so if it's
Yeah.
a wet time,
Yeah,
we'll
so,
fix whatever.
yeah, so I added these conditions, I mean, because really, if you give them an easement, they can do whatever they want as far as making a road. But without, no gravel or any other materials that would make it into what you consider a road. It's not, there's no gravel unless there's some sort of consent given by the mayor for some sort of reason, but, have to repair any damage caused by use of the easement. So I'd imagine there's gonna be a lot of use when they install whatever it is they're doing, but after that, it's probably gonna be.
Yeah, it's a one-time deal to install it, and then after that, there's probably not a lot of maintenance on it.
So if they're moving cannons, they're putting them back after they're done, things like that.
They've got that mapped off down there with yellow flags.
Yeah, you can
where the
look at
road's gonna
that.
be.
It's-
And then the biggest deal is that, they have to request access before they use it.
Somebody will be there.
So it's not like it's not a thing where like it's your road to your house where you just go traipse upon it wherever you want and you keep the public off of it.
Yeah,
It's gonna have
somebody's
to-
going
I just figure
fishing.
that's probably a little soup hole there that,
Yeah,
sometimes
it's-
a year you can't get in there.
Charles talked about that, said, you're not gonna, common sense, you're not gonna get out there when it's wet, and then,
I'm thinking once the sign goes in, we're
Won't be a
talking
lot.
about like,
Won't be a lot.
a couple times a year maybe.
maybe.
Yes, I'm not a sign guy, but Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Well, I am.
Who actually owns the property where the sign is?
The owner, the property, it will be the sign owner, it'll be Cowboy Dodge, or unless they say it's a 20 by 30, and that's marked out with those stakes, that footprint.
Well, only question I have is in the easement, it says, to grant, bargain, sell, and convey unto said grantee and unto its successors and assigns, and running with the land forever. I'm a little bit afraid of forever.
Yeah.
Well, that's like that's just kind of.
That's a legal term, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So if they
You really don't touch this language. This is kind of the drafting. That's when you talk about an easement. What running with the land forever means is whoever the owner of this. So it's Interstate Holdings LLC. If they sell it to another person, that next person gets the easement as well. It follows the property. It follows the signed property.
But if at some point the sign goes away,
And that's another condition on here
It
that
goes away.
the
It
rights,
goes away?
the rights terminate upon removal or abandonment of the sign, or if there's any other termination of the permit or anything like that.
that's good.
Did his
They're
homework.
kind of landlocked right there, I guess, anyway.
Yeah, you have
Well-
to give people access to
Yeah,
either that or come off
kind of.
Highway 65.
The obvious thing is that sign got there somehow, because there's a sign there already.
Yeah.
So somebody, so
Right
there's,
down.
you know,
Well, Mildred
perhaps
didn't
there's
need an
already
easement. She owned it.
Was that?
Mildred didn't need an easement, she owned the sign.
Yeah.
And then she gave it to Nancy and.
But every time they change the skin out,
Yeah.
they're probably, I guess they're quote unquote trespassing over the park. Things like, so I mean, this is sort of this is giving them what they're already using, really, is my point.
Okay, Richard, I have a question. Is it Thompson, Morton, or Tomlinson, Morgan?
Thompson,
Morton.
Morton.
Thompson. So I need to
So we
change
will
that.
change
Yes,
that
not
from
Morton. That's what I was
Tomlinson.
confused. I thought, is it Morgan?
The resolution's okay, the easement, I want to make sure the language is correct.
Yeah,
So it's
resolution's not
Thompson, Thompson? Okay, thank you.
Don't ask me to spell.
That's correct.
But yeah, that would be as amended, Thompson to Tomlinson and Morton.
Thompson, Morton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Thompson.
Morton, Salt, Thompson, yes.
There you go,
There's not three people in here that do that.
Thompson.
There's a whole bunch of
Oh, Morton,
Oh, Morton.
and daughter Nancy. We need any other on that? We need to vote on that, I think.
Barnes. Bradley.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Pistol.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
2021-03.
Thank you. Okay, brings us to ordinance, doing business with city officials. Doug Davidson is the one, it'd be the same thing we did for Steve Nunley, or we'll do with Jason Lynch. And Chad said last time, this may be a pretty regular occurrence at the end, but it's a proper way to do it. So I'll entertain a motion, and I guess I need to put this on the first reading, read it, and then take a vote, and then do the second and third reading just by title
Yeah,
only?
it's a
Okay.
general ordinance, so it need to be, you
Okay.
need to suspend the second and third if you're gonna pass it tonight.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion and a second to place on the first reading, this ordinance.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Second, in discussion, I'll read this ordinance. Again, introducing it, it's to do business with someone who works for the city or has some relation on a commission or a board. It's an ordinance of the city of Clinton, Arkansas to permit Davidson Solid Rock Insurance to conduct business with the city. Whereas Davidson Solid Rock Insurance has been offered a policy of insurance for Clinton Municipal Airport, and whereas Davidson Solid Rock Insurance is owned by Doug Davidson, a member of the Airport Commission, and therefore an official the city of Clinton, and whereas pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 1442-107, a council member, official, or employee of the city shall not be interested directly or indirectly in the profits of any contract for furnishing supplies, equipment, or services to the municipality unless the governing body of the city has enacted an ordinance specifically permitting council members, officials, or municipal employees to conduct business with the city and prescribing the extent of this authority. And whereas the ordinance is necessary to comply with the requirements of the above referred statute, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Clinton, Arkansas, that Davidson Solid Rock Insurance is permitted to provide insurance for the City of Clinton, Arkansas, as specified in the invoice attached hereto and incorporated there as Exhibit A. Is there any discussion on that? And you have a copy of, I think, 3 invoices already,
Yeah, there should be, they're attached there.
197.
Yeah, these were insurance policies that were,
Renewed?
I think this has kind of been going on for a couple
Right.
of years. This is a renewal policy for the airport.
Okay, any discussion? I'll ask for a vote on that first
Barnes.
one. Yes. On the first reading, and then I'll do the second and third by title only. which will-
Bradley.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Pistol.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion second to suspend the rules and place on the second and third reading by title only.
Make a motion.
Second, any other discussion on that? I'll ask for a vote.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Pistol,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Again, this is the ordinance of the City of Clinton, Arkansas to permit Davidson Solid Rock Insurance to conduct business with the city. Final discussion. I'll entertain anything else. I entertain a motion second to adopt this ordinance.
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'll second it.
I'll ask for a vote.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Pistol,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
2021-05.
The emergency clause, in fact, I need to get approval for that, okay. That brings us down to the final item, ordinance repealing supplemental tax on restaurants, first, second, and third reading. We'll do this the same way we did that. I'll entertain a motion. This is the 10% tax on for on-premise drinking. We had 5%, then amended to 10%, left it at 10%. This would repeal that ordinance. I'll entertain a motion and second to place this ordinance on the first reading.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second?
discussion. I'll read that ordinance. I'll ask for a vote. Put that on.
Comment, please.
Just a minute.
Barnes,
If I don't make a comment now, it's useless,
No, it's not.
okay?
We're gonna do three readings. Go ahead and make your comment, John.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead and make it.
I was here at the last meeting. Nobody from the audience, from the citizenry of the city of Clinton, stood up to say anything against this ordinance to begin with. Okay. Alcohol is not a necessity. The state allows us a 10% tax, and I'm in favor of that. Alcohol is not a necessity.
Okay.
That the issue's brought up again, I think is, I'm sorry, I don't have a proper word for that. So I'll just sit down, but I'm opposed to repealing this ordinance.
Thank you. Where were we at? Motion by the first.
Bowden, Barnes,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Pistol,
No.
I'll read the ordinance.
Ward.
Yes.
Sorry, Sam.
I'm sorry.
An ordinance repealing the supplemental tax for on-premise consumption at restaurants within the city of Clinton, Arkansas, and to declare an emergency. Whereas at the March City Council meeting, the City Council passed a comprehensive ordinance regulating the sale of alcohol in the city of Clinton, Arkansas. And whereas including within the ordinance was a supplemental tax on selling or dispensing alcohol at a restaurant. And whereas the city recognizes that there is currently only one business that will be affected by this supplemental tax, and that the restaurant industry in general has been negatively affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas the city desires to repeal the supplemental tax until the local restaurant economy recovers, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Clinton, Arkansas, that's Section 2, subsection 3 of the City of Clinton Ordinance Number 2021-04 is repealed. Emergency clause is listed at the bottom, is hereby declared that emergency exists because its repealed supplemental tax will be enforced beginning April the 10th, 2021, and this repealing ordinance will not take effect until May 8th, 2021, without the declaration of an emergency. This short period of taxation will lead to confusion and a burden on affected businesses and the city officials tasked with enforcing these ordinances. The ordinance is necessary to preserve the peace, health, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Clinton, Arkansas, and therefore shall be enforced from and after the date of its passage. It was the first reading after a vote. We vote on that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion second, suspend the rules and put on the second and third reading by the title only.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Okay. Again, this is an ordinance repealing the supplemental tax for on-premise consumption at restaurant within the city of Clinton, Arkansas, and declare an emergency. Any other discussion? I'll ask for a vote.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bradley,
No.
Hastings,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Pistol,
No.
Ward.
Yes.
What's the code?
Hmm.
Oh, what's that?
4-2.
Okay. Entertain a motion second to, that was for adoption.
No,
I'll entertain a motion
read.
second to
That was
adopt
just
this
to read
order.
it. That was to read it. We're on second.
Yeah, this is
reading.
adoption now.
Okay, I entertain a motion second to adopt this ordinance.
Make a motion to adopt. Second.
Ask for a vote.
We didn't discuss it.
We didn't,
Oh,
but there's no
I'm sorry.
discussion.
Go ahead. Discussion.
Well, my first question is how is this ordinance necessary to preserve the peace, health, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Clinton, Arkansas? That's my first question, Chad.
I'll chime in. And if you're going to vote, if there is a vote to repeal this today, if you do not declare an emergency, you're going to have a gap month that I would say is a little bit chaotic, because your effective date on March's ordinance, because of the 30-day run, is Saturday. So on Saturday, all the businesses that are going to be affected by this restaurant tax are going to have to start collecting taxes to be in compliance with the ordinance. They're going to do that until they're already going to know that again, if you vote to pass this, they're already going to know that the city council has acted to repeal that tax. And so from April 10th to May 8th, because that's when if you don't do an emergency, that's when the tax will come into actually being repealed. You're going to have this gap window. So you're going to have Tim, Clark, Tim, Dina, myself, trying to figure out how we're going to enforce this kind of gap month, and then you're going to have any business owner that's trying to figure out what to do as far as being in compliance with an ordinance they already know is kind of a lame duck. Then you're going to have just general public. And I just also point out, this is my thing on everyone complaining about emergency clauses. The word emergency, when using an emergency clause, doesn't mean someone's about to get their heads chopped off because we don't pass something. It's the health, welfare, but it's the health, peace, and welfare of the citizens. So an emergency, if it's affecting just the general welfare of people living in our community and being able to understand what's going on in the government, you can pass an emergency clause. And again, I'm not trying to comment on what you're going to do as far as whether you're going to repeal or not, but if you're going to do something tonight to repeal it, I do think there's an emergency in the sense that you don't want to have a period from April 10th to May 8th when you're probably not really going to collect a lot of revenue just because it's such a short period of time when there's confusion over what the law is. That's my point on why you would do an emergency.
So if we don't appeal tonight, what we have in standing is still good.
On Saturday, the ordinance that you passed in March goes into effect.
So if we don't do anything, we're good.
That's
So
right.
there's not gonna be any confusion of.
If you take no action,
Right.
of course there's no confusion because you acted in March. Yes, this is that's why the emergency clause is voted on after you vote on this ordinance.
Right.
If you pass this ordinance in front of you, this repealing ordinance, then you're gonna have the next question is like, whether we pass the emergency clause. And that would be, I would say, it's at least sensible to consider the emergency clause because of that gap month.
Well, last month, we were in discussion, Sean was like, okay, we're gonna table it for indefinitely, and I said, we can't
I
table it.
said,
Till next
I said
year.
whenever, and then I said January 1st, and then I said,
And
well,
then but we don't need to table it, you said we need to table, put a time on it.
so I said.
That was a
January.
well, that was my
That was your recommendation. So, it
And then I
failed.
said 6 months, whatever,
Right,
just to
right.
where we can get
This
some
is
of this down the road.
this is my take on it. I mean, you can go either way. But I think, I'm not targeting one business at all. But, I have done my research and we are in a very weird, situation, completely uncharted water.
New situation.
Yes.
But we are targeting one business, that's the problem.
But not really.
How not?
Well-
There's nowhere else in the city that sells alcohol.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, we need to have one person talking at a time.
Nowhere.
Yeah, hang on just a second, please.
Let him finish.
When a new business comes to town, this is what I thought that would be better, to go ahead and establish a tax and have it in regulation before another business comes in and says, oh, we were at 5% and now we've got multiple businesses wanting to sell alcohol. And then we say, oh, we need to up our tax. Would that not make you mad if you were a new business owner coming to
If I was a new
town?
business
So I was like,
owner, it'd make me put in somewhere else.
I don't think that's lucrative, that you're gonna be,
I'm a business owner, so I can tell you.
that
I'm a
this
business
alcohol
owner,
tax is gonna
owner.
be making somebody not come or come. Do you really think it is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm compliant either way, I guess, you know what I'm saying, but as a former business owner, I was on the edge of the city limits. My business was in the city limits. Business across the street was not in the city limits at that time. People would go over there because it was 10 cents cheaper, to buy something because of the difference in the tax. Next, what I'm trying to say is, what scares me about it is it says somebody to say, I'd rather be in Clinton, but let's just go to Choctaw and not be in the city limits so you don't get any of that city tax. Or, you know, Bee Branch or wherever, you know, but you're not in the city limits at that point. So now we're trying to get people to come to the city and do business in the city, but that's an extra tax that the city's gonna do, so let's just go right outside of town.
I just don't.
Once it's established, we might decide, hey, there's 5 in town now.
I want you
Let's
to
do
know,
5%.
if you get an alcoholic beverage, this is not, and I'm gonna say this to our Facebook watchers that aren't here tonight. They're not here tonight, and I've had a lot of people call or comment on Facebook, and I don't do Facebook, I don't go to it every single night, I'm not a Facebook junkie. That have a comment and say, well, that's taxation without representation. Well, it's not. If you don't want to drink, you don't get taxed. If you don't drink alcohol, you don't get taxed. That's my take on that. We are not for doing that. We are making rules and regulations for the city.
My thing is, like I'm saying still, is it's not so much of a new tax, another tax. It's I'm looking at it right now as trying to generate more business in town. And that's just one more leapfrog that says, why do I want to be in Clinton? That's where I'm
You
seeing.
think they'd want to be in Clinton if we had a 5%? Okay, let's talk about Faulkner County. Faulkner County's dry. Craighead County, or part of Jonesboro, dry. So we've got the same things. Conway, they have private clubs, so we can't really compare. We're not comparing apples to apples. We're a very small county compared. So that's what I'm saying. What do we do? What does your constituents want you to do?
Mr. Mayor, be recognized.
Constituents I've talked to, or that they say it's just dumb to, put it on.
I'd like to be recognized to speak.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
You finish?
Go ahead.
I too am a business owner. I've owned a business in Clinton for going on 24 years. And I've never, at any point in my life of owning a business here, thought, maybe I'll move my business outside the city of Clinton so I can not charge the city of Clinton's 1% tax. That's absolutely an asinine way of thinking, because everybody knows that inside the city of limits is where the traffic is. That's where the people are coming. So I don't have any confidence in that argument at all. And people who are going to put in a business have money. If they've got money, they don't care about charging a 10% tax to the customer at the end of the sale on a drink or a bottle of beer. The other thing I'd like to talk about is beating up on one business. We're not beating up on one business. This business has been operating under that club license for many years. We've never had a tax for them. We've never charged them a tax before because it isn't lucrative to just have one private club in the city of Clinton, and we never had any chance for having more. So it was left alone. This business, as a private club, they have to buy their alcohol from a package store, also known as a liquor store. They go in there and they have to pay retail. Now, I'm sure they probably get a discount, but nobody's going to sell them their product at cost. So they're probably going to be at least paying 10%, maybe 15% markup. Plus, they have to pay the 5% state tax that the state charges. on a sale at the liquor store. It's not like me, when I could go down to Walmart and buy some ammunition and say, hey, I'm gonna sell this in my store, here's my tax permit, and I don't have to pay sales tax. It's different with alcohol tax. State's gonna get their tax on that sale, and then when they come back to their private club and sell it again, they're gonna pay it again. So from the get-go, they're gonna be anywhere from 15 to 20% better off because now they can operate as a restaurant with an alcohol license instead of a private club. So I don't see it as beating up on one business. All they need to do is change their license to a restaurant alcohol license, and they'll be saving money. And as far, like I said, it's someone who has money and is going to put a business in, they don't care about the tax. I've talked to people who own restaurants and they don't care. You know, it's just like sales tax. I don't care. It's just part of doing business. You got to collect it and you got to pay it back. It's no money out of my pocket. I just have to handle the money. So those arguments, I've heard all of them. They make no sense to me. And I've talked to several people, many people who live in the city of Clinton, who vote in the city of Clinton, and not one person has objected to it. They've all thought it was a good idea, especially if we have a goal of rolling back property tax. So, again, I don't even know why we're bringing this back up. This ordinance was passed at 3 different meetings, 3 different readings, and the first 2 times, this body voted for it unanimously, and some of them changed their vote last time, and I, for one, do not have any confidence in a city council person who would vote for this 3 times in a row and then change their mind at the next meeting to repeal it. That just, I don't have any confidence in someone who would do that.
So it was passed 3 times? It was passed.
It was read 3 times. It was read 3 times.
That's a huge difference in passing it. Who has to keep up with the money? Do you know, will that be your responsibility?
Yep.
How long will that take?
I don't know at all. It will tell.
Right.
I have to go Chad.
So if,
And who enforces the zoning? Or
I think
code enforcement?
it's probably gonna look a lot like our hotel motel tax. The procedure that we follow to enforce it. So, and I hear what you're saying, it's gonna be challenging to collect. I won't say we can't collect,
Yeah.
but there are challenges to collecting.
right.
But
That's on them.
the answer is, I think it's probably gonna be a similar process. I've got some forms already ready for permitting the establishment, which is gonna happen regardless of what you do tonight, they're gonna have to get permitted. Permitted the establishments, and there's gonna be a report form that's gonna look similar to the one that the hotels do. So it's gonna looks a little bit like that program. And you start thinking about what it's gonna look like.
Everything, the permits, all of that was done from what I read this ordinance. It's just, this is just dropping it back to a 0% tax or whatever.
For the restaurant only,
For the restaurant,
festivals,
yeah.
nothing in this touches the festival permit. There was another, there was a private club also that doesn't touch the private club thing. It's just the restaurant only is the only thing it touches.
So, Jason, you're telling me the only problem you have with it is that one business is the only one that has to pay it.
Well, there's one business that has to pay it. It's not gonna generate a ton of money. Dina has to do all the paperwork, and we don't even know how much, if we bring in $100, it costs Dina 10 hours to keep up with it. We're losing money trying to keep up with it. We could hire a monkey, but we can't buy bananas with what it's gonna bring in. It makes no sense for one business that's not gonna bring in anything to even make this.
Well, let's just let everybody come into our city and not pay taxes.
It's not everybody in the city. This is one restaurant. This is a
Well, we're
completely
gonna
different
get some
thing.
more restaurants, hopefully we'll get some more
If
restaurants.
we get more
That's
restaurants, we can always
Then
look
what
at
are
it
you
later
gonna
on.
do?
One
Then what
point
are
in
you gonna
time,
do?
she's gotta keep up with all this.
We can look at it
Yeah,
later
then what
on.
are you gonna do? Are you gonna go back and say, we need to get a tax on this alcohol, because we're selling a lot of alcohol? Then what are you gonna do with those business owners, the new business owners, or Comparative Latitude that's been here forever through COVID and worked through staying open, and we appreciate them staying open. But their business owners didn't contact me. I've had more people contact me saying, yes, we support the 10% sales tax.
Not the ones I talked to.
So,
Did you talk to the people at
I haven't
Latitude?
talked to people who have to, but I've.
I mean, so you don't know if they're even planning on changing their license status from private club to a
I
restaurant?
have no idea, that's up to them, that's
so
their
you're
business.
advocating for them though, so you
I'm not
have.
advocating for them, I'm advocating to repeal the tax on the one restaurant that does have alcohol sales.
Okay, well, how about this? The one restaurant that has alcohol sales in the city of Clinton is a private club. What if we exclude private clubs from the tax and leave the rest of it alone? There's no restaurants serving
The
alcohol.
exact same thing as what we're doing now.
No, because there's no restaurants serving alcohol right now. There would be a 10% tax on any restaurant who wants to serve alcohol with a regular alcohol license, private clubs excluded. That way she can just keep her private club license and she can keep paying her 20% or whatever she pays to the liquor store to buy her product. It ain't even her, the person who owns it is a man from Conway.
It's a benefit for them to become a non-private club.
Well, they can stay a private club, then they don't have to collect the 10%. We can do that.
That's what's happening at the community club at Fairfield Bay right now.
You
You
know what
can either
Fairfield
be
Bay's
one or
doing?
the other, you can't be both.
You know how much Fairfield Bay charges on their tax? Zero.
You think they're gonna stay that way?
They're at
Well, that's what they're doing at the moment.
That's what they're doing.
5 years from now, you never know. 5 years from now, we may not be here.
Well, the
But
only,
the difference between Fairfield Bay and here is they actually had people show up at the city council meeting complaining about it. We've had nobody show up here. Nobody has showed up.
They're the reason.
Nobody, there's not been one citizen from the city of Clinton who is a registered voter who has said anything about this tax.
There hasn't been anybody here to support it either.
Jumper.
There's nobody that supports it out here.
Mr. Thurberg just got up and supported it.
One person. I mean, that's, okay, so it's 1-0 on people that support it and people that disapprove of it.
Well, you know, a lot of your community, if I can, you know, they're still kind of COVID shy, and so some people have told me they're not coming because they're afraid of the COVID.
Yeah, but nobody's, they got telephones.
Go ahead.
No one's called me.
Tim was. Jim will.
You know, my take on this, I think the word targeted is the wrong word to use. I think the word affected or effect with an A is the right word to use on it. And I'm going to, I don't think we did anything wrong, and I stand on that on the 10%. I don't think that's wrong. But I also think that, and I agree with Jeff, and I agree with Gail on this, and I said this too, that we're pretty much on uncharted waters in terms of how the city's gonna deal with this, you know, how the county, how other communities are. But, you know, the perception that the word target is false. It's a false narrative, and it's false for anyone to push that narrative in any kind of comment on any kind of a platform to do that. That's just, it's just wrong. And, but I wish we had probably gone and taken some of what Sean said, so I'm gonna hit every one of y'all tonight, because every one of y'all have made really good points about things. And that we should have had it and kind of pushed it back and tabled it to see, to give this council a little bit more time, and yet it doesn't affect one private club that's doing this. I agree with Jeff. I don't think it means one hill of beans whether somebody comes in here, whether it's a private club or a restaurant, to do it. And so as a result, I don't have a problem repealing it and saying, all right, people, let's just see. And in a year from now, we look at this.
Well, my question is, Tim, how come you didn't vote against it last month? Why did we pass it 4-2? Why did we spend the money to run the ordinance in the newspaper? We've wasted citizens' tax dollars running this in the paper. Why didn't you vote against it last month?
That's true too, Jeff.
See, I don't have any confidence in that at all. I don't.
that's kind of where I'm at too, is like
it's-
we vote
Yeah.
on one thing and then we go back and we talk to the constituents, or maybe we get a little bit of heat from the general public, and we're like, oh, we don't like that. We might just not vote it, and then we come back and we vote. I think that shows, I'm with Joe, shows lack of confidence in us. And I'm like, I know we're all smart or educated people, and we need to know what to do before we get here, and how we're gonna vote. But I'm open-minded.
I think one of the things for me on voting that is the fact that it wasn't just the supplemental tax, it was the whole ordinance. So
We need the permit.
And so so if it was just, if we just.
No, that's incorrect. There were two ordinances. There was one ordinance to allow restaurants to serve alcohol, and then the second ordinance was the tax. It was not combined. Is that not correct, Chad?
Well, but the ordinance that contained the tax also contained provisions for permitting. Well, really, it was permitting, and then there were other, there were festival use and then private club use. So there were, I would call it comprehensive in the sense that it's the most comprehensive alcohol tax we've ever passed because it's the first one we've ever passed. But, yes, it did cover more than just this.
What I'm saying is if last month they would have voted the tax down, the ordinance that included the tax, the first ordinance we voted for, which nobody talked about, was the actual ordinance that allowed restaurants to sell alcohol.
The mixed drink tax. You're right. There was a separate, distinct mixed drink tax.
So what you're saying, Tim, is not correct. What you're voting, what you voted for.
That's fine. I may be wrong. That's not.
We're gonna go with.
It won't be the last time on that. But that was my line of thinking. Last month is that we looked at that there was an entirety or a comprehensive thing, and that was my worry because we were talking about a little bit about setting parameters for certain businesses relative to the business.
So you're saying you didn't know what you were voting for?
No, I didn't say that. See, that's the same thing.
There was two ordinances.
That's the same thing that Facebook people do.
Yeah, there was two ordinances.
Put words in your mouth.
The first ordinance is to make it legal for restaurants to sell alcohol, and the second one was to put the tax, to levy the tax.
And permits.
We were going with Chad's recommendations, because we are uncharted, and he said I can pretty much quote what you said in January, we need to sit down at some time and think about how we're gonna do business with the new alcohol, with the new wet county that we live in. The county voted it wet. We have to make the decisions of how we're gonna do business in the city. So whether we say 5%, 0%, or 10%, if we appeal what we already voted on last month, then we're gonna have this gap. So we just need to find a solution. What do we all agree on that we can agree on and get along well with the community and the city to do business as?
I'm glad you brought that point up, because Chad did start talking to us last year. And I just out of curiosity, Chad, how many city council people came to you and discussed this with you? Did everybody at this table come to you and say, hey, what we're gonna do with it?
Well, everyone works differently, I guess would be my response. I will say, every single council person I've talked to has had a conversation with me since the topic came up, but to also be very fair, I also say Councilor Pistol sat down in my office, spent time, told me what his desires were, what he was trying to accomplish, and was very clear with his goals that he wants. So I'll say that. So to answer your question, nobody spoke to me more than you did, but I don't think it'd be fair for me to say no one else in this room talked to me about the alcohol ordinances, because I think I've had a conversation, whether it was maybe in passing or not, with everybody.
I wouldn't say talk to you, but I'm saying how many approached you and said, yes, I want we need to do something with it.
Really honestly, I think just pretty much all of them did. Again, whether they put I'm not saying they put the amount of effort that you did, because you didn't. Because you took the lead on this. You sat down, you talked to me, you told me what you were trying to accomplish, and you were a lot of the feedback on the ordinances that were put together. That's accurate.
Anyone else on the council? There's a couple of hands. I want to limit, I'll say 3 minutes if someone.
We should do the time.
What?
You want the time?
I got it.
You got it? Okay, good.
I thought I didn't lose it. Anybody want to make a comment?
I'll just say that if you pass this or don't pass this tonight, number one, I'm one of those jerks on Facebook that did show up and did oppose voiced my opposition to this before you passed it, for what that's worth. And nobody showed up to support it until tonight, when Mr. Burge expressed that he supports whatever you did, whatever, for the record. However, this ordinance that you've got on the table at the moment won't affect the one business that is affected by that tax, because it is a private club. So if you repeal the tax on restaurants that you enacted last month, it's not going to help the one business that is affected by this tax. So I think you've been, if you don't repeal Section 3, subsection 3, which addresses the private clubs, in addition to this one or to all of the taxes, whatever, you're talking about nothing right now.
Well, I think the whole deal is we would, we would like them to change from a private club to a restaurant, so.
But I don't know if
They
you can
would
get
be
it by Saturday.
targeting businesses instead of a private club.
Well, in light of the confusion that I'm now sensing in the room, and in the light that we've already spent taxpayer dollars to run these ordinances in the paper, I would like to make a motion to table this ordinance until next month's meeting.
I'll second it.
And a motion is second to table our discussion of this particular ordinance until next month's meeting. Any discussion from the council? Okay, I'll call.
Oh, discussion.
Is the reason for that, Jeff, just for us to get more clarification?
Yeah, we need to get some more clarification, it sounds like, because it doesn't sound like everybody understands it. Including Mr. Kuiper's back there, who's been the main one charged against it since the beginning. And now he's saying he doesn't even think it's gonna work. So,
Sean, go ahead.
I mean, the only deal is we were, like I said, we'd like for people, I would think, that any of the restaurants to become a restaurant, not a private club, since it's already Wet County. Get the benefit of that. Hold on.
we're not talking, we're talking about tabling, we're not talking about the ordinance.
Let's say that the table. It's a good point.
You had it last month, but now you.
I'll interject, because Jeff did a long time ago come in and say, we need to get this on the front end so we don't, and Chad said, come on off, and you've read and heard on that.
But
my argument.
One argument on that, real quick. One argument on that. When you talk about we had 1, 2, 3 readings, we did, and it was at 5%, and then it went to 10%.
The second reading it went to 10%, and you voted to go to 10%.
We just to talk about it, but the third reading is where everybody knows that's the.
We have a motion and a second to table this.
Can we amend Jeff's motion to freeze the tax until ordinance is resolved? So we don't have 1 month of possibly.
That was my question.
Well, if we're tabling it,
I mean, if you want to freeze
Table
the tax,
it.
if you want to freeze the tax, you got to repeal it.
So it's all or nothing.
That's, well, I mean, I don't know.
it's all or nothing.
I don't know how else you're gonna do it. If you don't want that tax to start, if you don't want that tax to be collected on Saturday, you're gonna have to repeal it. And if you wanna then pass it again next month, you can pass it. But you have a law that you have passed, you're gonna do something with it. And then, like tomorrow, forms are gonna go out. Applications are gonna go out. Businesses are gonna have to start applying tomorrow, because if they're gonna be in business on Saturday, to be in compliance with the city ordinance, they're gonna have to do this. So, just regardless of whatever decision you're gonna make, I just want to make sure you understand, tomorrow, we're gonna have to start putting in implementing.
Motion and second to table is still there. Any discussion, I'll ask for a vote on that.
Barnes,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Hastings,
To table it.
yes, table it.
Till next meeting.
No, then we got problems.
Lynch,
No.
Pistol,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Okay, so that's where we stand. Anything else? And we'll work through all the stuff going out tomorrow. I have several comments, and I'll just hush.
we won't begin.
Well, one thing I do like about this council is you're autonomous. We don't sit around and go, I'm gonna vote this, and you're gonna do that. None of you do that, and you sure don't do it. So I do appreciate that. And it sounds like I need to get in the offense a little more. Like Chad said, just come by. I'm gonna reach out specifically to y'all. We've got 4 full weeks until our next meeting, so we've got a lot of stuff to do, but we definitely need to sit down and do the workshop, and whatever we need to come back
We need to do a workshop, because we really, to do it legally, we need to have a workshop.
We're gonna go live
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll deal with the confusion. Dana's got nothing else to do. I do appreciate everything. Any last, thing from the,
I think we ought to have a work session before next month.
we absolutely will.
Maybe we get all this settled before
Sure,
the next
sure.
meeting.
Well, that's one time I'd say, let's sit around and get our heads together and say, let's get rid of this, let's do that, we're gonna do 8%, no percent, 10%. And you did, a long time ago, say, I wanna avoid it, but still, this is new, uncharted water for everybody. We've never, we've not been wet in a long time, not since I've been around, which is a long time. Anything else? I've got some comments, some mayor, comments. Military plaques. If you have anybody that you know of that, you send off the plaque, and Warren Johnson served in the Pacific Theater, and I've lost all, that's an example, I've lost all my information, I can't get my stuff together. There's a way to do that. I was approached by a couple of people. My dad just got a plaque for World War II service, and a lot of people say, so-and-so passed away, all that's gone, we can't get that. There's a really easy way to do that. You don't have to have everything. There's a way to do that for public service. I just wanted to mention that, so if you have a loved one or someone you know that's thought about that for their headstone or at the foot of their grave, come by City Hall and I'll put you in touch with those people. It's a really good way, and I said I would mention it. I do, again, the tornado that popped up out of nowhere, I appreciate our emergency service response was amazing. Thanks to Fire Chief for calling and waking me up. But it was really good. Mike Snowden, everybody, all of you guys. I saw a bunch of you out there. Thank you. I mentioned Tuesday the 13th, we're going to have that work session on safety through the Municipal League for our insurance purposes. Also, we have a walk audit plan downtown. Some of you are familiar with that, getting grants for downtown revitalization. That's either going to be the 30th or 6th. I will contact you guys, and I'll certainly mention that to the paper when I lock that in. Had a lot of accidents. You know about those. They've been going on. A lot of folks passed, so sorry for that. Mentioned the peanut butter drive. Jay, thank you for that. You're doing a great job. And Shelley Hink and the school, Bright Futures. This is not a waste of time. Jar of peanut butter here that goes a long way. We've got a really good school board. We've got a good school, and they're interested in getting food where it needs to go. I appreciate that for the community. Also, any agenda items, see me. I'd mentioned that we had 4 solid weeks. It sounds like one of the paramount things will be what we discussed here tonight. We'll just have to work through the nuts and bolts of the between now and next month for that. But it's not enough to. It's not going to be millions of dollars. It's going to be a little aggravation. Anything else? I do appreciate you for coming. I'll entertain a motion second to adjourn.
Adjourn.